top 6 MVP candidates, all quarterbacks. Mahomes in the driver's seat to take home his 3rd MVP, and right behind him is CJ Stroud.
How about that?
He's moved up in the ranks considerably.
Oh, look at much maligned, always unfairly criticized Josh Allen.
And then Jordan Love and Lamar. So here's the interesting thing, and I had Josh pull this up, because we all love CJ on this show, but I asked him to make a sophomore slump graphic of notable rookie seasons. Herbert went down a little bit in passer rating, but not much. Baker went down considerably, and he always had a lot of coaching turnover. Dak had a stellar rookie season and came back to earth. So, Greg, do you think the hype around Stroud is too high?
Let me point out real fast. I'm going to debunk this very, very quickly. The other 3 quarterbacks didn't have as good of a team as the Houston Texans, and their coordinators either left or their offensive-minded head coach is nowhere near what Bobby Slowick is with the Texans. So the Texans have gotten significantly better. They kept, obviously, the coaches that then tie this all together. And CJ Stroud is without a doubt a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield, Dak Prescott. So comparing them at all is just absurd to me, quite honestly. Like it's night and day,
And he might fall victim to a sophomore slump.
No, the hype is not too high. Not at all too high. Like this guy, we're talking about a guy who came in the league, obviously 2nd overall pick. But what did he have around him that we knew of?
I mean, now we know Nico Collins. But that's correct.
Now we know
that's
Nico
right.
Collins.
Yeah. Tank Dell was a rookie.
He told the organization, you know what, I want this guy, Tank Dell. Bring him in with me. And he made it work. He delivered. We haven't seen that. We've seen guys go to situations and they bring in guys where we kind of know those guys, or bring in veteran guys and pieces.
Or Herbert, who walked in with Allen
into a great
Mike
situation
Williams.
Offensively. But this guy, he made it happen himself. And so now you look at this team, they have tremendous depth offensively. Your tight end, depth at running back, obviously depth at receiver. You add Stephon Diggs. And then defensively what they were able to do. Like, I love everything that they've done surrounding this young man with a ton of talent, understanding we have a guy that we can strike right now with. So we have to support him with what he needs. I think he's going to deliver, because that's all we've known him to do. Sell me on anything other than that, and I'm not buying it.
Yeah, so there's an odd narrative around some corners of football, internet, Twitter, that I hate on AFC quarterbacks aren't Patrick Mahomes. Now, that is belied by my record on Trevor Lawrence and my record on Joe Burrow. It's kind of buttressed, I guess, because of some of the criticisms I've had with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Cut this tape for me, please, Hub, so I can send it to the next person that accuses me of that. Because I agree with Greg 100%. I don't think the hype's high enough. I think CJ Stroud is a great bet to win league MVP this year. I think CJ Stroud is the model to all of a sudden compete for a championship, which is quarterback that is ready immediately, the team recognizes it, adds a bunch of resources, spends the money, brings in a guy like Diggs, who at least for a year I think will be a good fit, drafts well, it seems like they hit on the coach and says, you know what? We have a $60 million asset that we're paying $5 million to. Let's use that extra $55 million to add talent. And so, yeah, I mean, the way to win MVP in this league is to play quarterback, have your team win at least a dozen games, you know what I mean, and be a top seed. I think all of that's and obviously have great numbers. All of that's on the board for CJ. And even though, CJ's in the Slowick offense, was kind of the Shanahan offense, they weren't, to my eye, fugazi numbers. He was throwing deep over the middle. He was making hard passes. He also has a great system, and they didn't lose Slowick. So I love the talent. I think there's a world that exists where at the end of this season, there are people that say he's the second best quarterback in football.
I've already been in that world.
You think he's second
best quarterback?
I've been saying that since last year.
Yeah, I think he was. I remember that. So, yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Let me change the pause position of this. I totally agree with what Nick and Greg are saying. You know, I've been high on CJ Stroud for a really long time now. And so I like this question in terms of, is the hype around Stroud too high? And like I kind of mapped out very, very quickly before I even really let the clip play, is the biggest reason why I think they're going to be so good this year is because they got better. Because they legitimately got better, and they kept the people that were either coaches or players, CJ Stroud, who were already playing really well and are now going to get better just by the sheer fact that they're more experienced now. Even someone like Bobby Slowick is going to be better because he's going to be more experienced and understand his team and his offense and his quarterback better, right? D'Amico's going to be better. And then they went out and said, we have a great team and had great success. Let's go out and get other weapons and other pieces to now bring us to the next level. That is supporting your team and your quarterback rather than just saying, okay, we're in a great spot. Great. Let's just kind of keep going. Let's see how far we can get. It's like, no. We're really good. Let's add some pieces. And like I compared this to is exactly what the Eagles did in 22 or 2022. I'm already messing up these years now. 22. When the Eagles went to the Super Bowl, they went out and got A.J. Brown. They went out and got some extra pieces to make it even easier for them. They were able to keep Shane Steichen. They were able to keep their defensive coordinator, obviously Jalen Hurts. And they said, okay, Devontae's great. We have all these other weapons. Let's add more weapons. Let's upgrade. Let's upgrade both offensively and defensively. And because of that, it led directly to a Super Bowl. If Shane Steichen left, if they didn't go out and get A.J. Brown, the Eagles do not go to that Super Bowl. They do not win the NFC. It just doesn't happen. I don't care how big of an Eagles fan you are. It's not happening. And that's the benefit that CJ Stroud and the Texans have. They kept their coordinator. They went out and got even better. To me, it's the exact trajectory of what the Eagles did. So as long as the Texans stay healthy and all that, which I feel like that's just like is always such a given. I believe that they're favored to win the AFC. Like, I really do. I don't try to put a team and say, this is the best team or this or that. As you guys know at this point, if you've been watching me long enough, I put teams in tiers and categories and groups. I don't try to say one team is on top of the other team. But it's just like, you can't put the Texans any higher. They have to. If you believe that the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl or win the AFC at the very least, you have to put the Texans in that category. Maybe you still think that the Chiefs will end up beating the Texans, but they are in the same tier. The Chiefs are in no way in a league of their own. If you want to make the statement that Patrick Mahomes is in a league of his own, a tier of his own from a quarterback position, that's fine. I can see that argument. But you can't make that argument about the Chiefs as a whole over what the Texans have. You just can't. So I just don't think that the hype around the Texans or Stroud is too high. Quite frankly, I think you could make the argument that it's not high enough. I think there's still a lot of people that are suspicious of the Texans talking about, well, CJ Stroud only had one good year. CJ Stroud, what are they going to do when they have film on him? And the sophomore slump, right? Like, even bringing up that graphic is kind of like insulting in a lot of ways. Because it's just like, what? We're going to compare CJ Stroud to Baker Mayfield? Like, what are we talking about here? CJ Stroud to Dak Prescott? Like, what? It's an insulting graphic, honestly. It's saying, how will Patrick Mahomes play? Let's look at the previous quarterbacks who won Super Bowls in their follow-up year. Well, Patrick Mahomes is better than any of those other quarterbacks, so who cares what any other quarterback did after they won a Super Bowl in the next year? It doesn't matter. Like, what? It's like the comparison it's just dumb. It doesn't make any sense. So if anything, I think it's kind of insulting. I know they weren't trying to insult CJ, especially because first things first, as a whole, it's very high on players like Baker and Dak. But I just think it's just a different level. And so I've loved everything that the Texans have done to put themselves in the best possible situation to win now. There is no more of this. We're going to just kind of slowly develop, slowly come along. When you have the pieces, when you aren't paying the quarterback, and the quarterback proves to obviously be great and more than capable, when a big part of your offense is a coordinator who honestly can leave at any moment, right? And that is going to be a step back for the Texans. That is the drawback, right? If the Texans make it to a Super Bowl or even make it to an AFC Championship game, let alone win, there is a great chance that you lose the offensive coordinator. that will hurt your team. I'm not saying your team's going to fall off a cliff and now you're going to be a disaster, but it matters. It legitimately matters. If it didn't, then you wouldn't even need a coordinator in the first place. So that's why it's like, this is the year right now. And it's not to say that this is the only year. I'm not saying that. But this is the best chance you have right now. Because it's very clear what you have. The future years, it's unclear. You don't know. Is Diggs staying? Is Diggs going to kind of drop off a cliff because he's getting older? When Slowick leaves and you hire another coordinator, are you going to have problems like the Eagles had, where you kind of had a wonky play caller, and they took a giant step back? Like, there's just question marks right now with the Texans. There's zero question marks. So strike while you can, and that's why the Texans did what they did. That's why they went out and made the moves. That's why they went out and got Diggs. That's why they drafted the pieces that they drafted. They're in win now mode. Make no mistake about it. They are thinking our best chances to win a Super Bowl right now are this year and probably next year. Again, to be very clear, it's not saying that after that they don't have a chance. It's just this is their best year because because the future is just a very big unknown. So I'm really excited for the Texans. I'm excited for Stroud. And as I said before in a video, I think my 2 go-to picks for MVP is probably going to be between Stroud and Jordan Love, most likely more than anything, just because I feel that they have the team behind them, the coaches behind them, and the stories behind them. And I think they're both, in a position to have their team win 12 plus games, like Nick was saying, put up insane numbers. And when you do that and you have the story, it's like, okay, I think in order for Patrick Mahomes to win an MVP this year, he will have to have the Chiefs in first place, and he will have to be absolutely balling out. Absolutely be balling out. He would have to put, I feel like, extra numbers to do that. He would have to be the quarterback that we are talking about every single week as, oh my God, how is he doing this? Because he's already won so many times. He's already had such a prolific career. I just think that the narrative will just be harder for him to kind of get over that hump in terms of winning MVP. So I think Stroud is a great bet, to a fake bet, not actually put money down. Please don't put any money down now on who you think is going to win the MVP. That's a sucker bet. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud? Do you think the hype around them is too high, not high enough, too low? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.